Boom. And here we go. We are live. We are live. And I got a man that's about to come onto the show that is going to run straight into your mind. And we're going to talk about logistics and sales. And the reason he's going to run is because he's an ultra runner as well. So Joshua Harrison, he's with TQL. He's been with TQL now since January of 2017. He's a 5-time President Club winner, a 4-time MVP. No, I'm sorry, a 4-time top 100 broker, a 2-time MVP, and a family man, a father of 5, and an ultra runner in his spare time. So let's bring in the man, Joshua Harrison. What's up, boss?
Oh, man, it's another day in logistics paradise, I guess. It's been kind of a weird week after I did my almost 100-mile run on Tuesday to the office last week, and so I've been like, it's funny. It's like when I'm not running, I just feel slower, and I'm not like I'm not as sharp when I'm not like honing my body and my mind, and like I hate rest days, and unfortunately I had to listen to my body and give myself a good week and a half to kind of recover from what I just did, last week. So I'm trying to get my brain up to that firing on all cylinders like I would like on training days,
Sure. So tell me a little bit about that and tell the audience about that. So you ran from your house, which is 100 miles away, to the TQL office that you work at in Grand Rapids. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the goal was to run from my house to the office. For those of you who are not from the Midwest, the springs in Michigan are extremely hard to train for because like one day it's 92 and then the next day it's like 49. Like it was 92 on Tuesday last week. And then I woke up yesterday morning, it was 48 degrees outside. So, and for those of you who don't know, just a little bit about running, your VO2 max, which is basically a measure of like how fast you run relative to your heart rate, it can drop as much as 20% in high humidity and heat. Sorry about that. And it was definitely conditions that were a little bit more than I think my body was like ready to handle. I made it 78 miles. And it was almost 100 degrees on asphalt and I had stopped sweating. So we had to make the decision just for safety reasons, to cut it short because I still had another 5 hours to go. And, with 5 kids, like if I didn't have any kids, it would have been full send. I was like, all right, you know what? If I die, I die, whatever. I signed up for this. I'm going to do it one way or another. But I had to kind of like just think of others, like put my life before my pride, and cut it short. But that's, the last week has been a lot of soul searching, like with regard to that, because we chase these goals in life, and it's not even just like running. It's just we chase these goals in our careers, with our family lives, with our personal lives, and sometimes we can get real caught up in like measuring our worth as human beings as to whether or not we achieve those goals. Right. And, the thing that I've kind of realized, in doing that deep soul searching is like, we're not measured by the goals that we set for ourselves and whether or not we achieve them. It's all about becoming a better person and growing your skill set mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally for the pursuit of those goals. So that's like, I'll take solace in the fact, it's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I didn't achieve what I set out to achieve, but I gave it everything I had. I killed myself to prepare for this 100-mile war with myself. And you know what? Sometimes you can do everything right and things will just still not work out. And that's okay because I can take solace in knowing that I gave it everything that I had and I'm going to come back stronger for it. I'm a better person because of this experience. And I'm looking forward to the next challenge and getting that 100-mile monkey off my back, just like, any other goal in life. You can't keep me down. Failure is just an opportunity for growth. And we learn more from those failures than we do from success,
So before we get to anything freight or logistics, I've got to ask. I'm a big fitness guy. I played college football, so all that's in my background. Pro wrestling, I love that type of stuff. Running, not a huge fan. However, That's because when I was in college, we had to run sprints, and a big thing for us was like running 110s. We'd go out there and be like, "All right, guys, we're going to build up to 2110s. Week 1, we're going to do 10 with 45-second break. Week 2, we're going to do 12 with 40-second break." And when you have a progressive program to get to the goal of what your test is, usually our test was 16 110s in a specific amount of time. So like linebackers, we might have 15 seconds to run 110 yards, and we've got to run 16 of them with 30-second break, and you've got to be able to hit that time in order to pass your test. So to get off that subject, progressive training, that's what you're doing for your 100-mile run.
No.
First, where did your passion for running come from? 2, what was your training program like leading up to the 100-mile goal?
So I got into running just because, like, going back 2 years, so in 2020, I was a pack-a-day smoker for 8 years, and I, working in sales, so I was, alcohol is part of your nutrition regimen when you're a broker for a living. Let's be honest here. We like
that's college sports, whatever running. Alcohol's part of the game plan.
Any excuse to imbibe. And then I'm in the office all day, right? So I'm in the office from 8 to 5, and I get home and I don't have any time to do anything for myself because I'm spending time with my family. And I'm not like, that's not to say that I don't want to spend time with them. It's just that that's my family time. So I don't have time from like 8 to 10. And what that led to was a very sedentary lifestyle, along with the pack-a-day smoking for 8 years. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel healthy. I felt gross. And we were expecting our fourth child. Our third, no, we just had, we were expecting our fourth child. And I got into my head like, hey, I want to my goal for 2020 is to live a healthy lifestyle. And I want to be healthier so that I can spend more time with my family and be on this earth longer, take care of my meat machine. And so I started out by not even like as a wrestler. I wrestled in high school and college, and we're hyper achievers. It's like we got to do we got to do everything, be like 120,000%. It's not 100% isn't good enough. If I'm just doing 100%, then I'm slacking. And not that that's not like a bad mentality to have, because it's important to have like that kind of work ethic and drive, right? But like, it's also important for like positive changes in our lives to be something that we enjoy and look forward to, because if I don't like doing something, I'm not going to keep doing it. It's like the older you get, it's like my kids, I just open the pool and the water's like 45 degrees and the kids are jumping in it because they don't like have any concept of comfort. Whereas like as you get older as an adult, we're going for max comfort all the time. So it's much harder for you to like teach that old dog new tricks, because we find this like state of comfort, and it's very hard for us to leave that state of comfort, even if it means progressing and becoming a better person. So I broke that down. Like I would try to get back into working out in the years leading up to that, and I would just go way too hard and I'd hate it. And then I'd stop because I didn't look forward to it. I didn't enjoy it. So I decided to kind of like change that up in terms of like how I was approaching my goals. So I break it down to the smallest possible like increment of like what it could possibly be. So I was like, what does that look like? What does being healthy look like as a daily habit? Well, to me, that looked like getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym, right? But I wasn't even used to getting up at 5 a.m., let alone going to the gym. So how could I possibly think that I'm going to be capable to just like flip a switch? That's it. I'm now a guy that gets up at 5 a.m. and goes to the gym. So I broke that down even further to just, I'm going to set my alarm for 5 a.m. And if I feel like getting up, then I'm going to go to the gym. And if I don't feel like getting up, well, then that's okay. I can go back to sleep. But I'm going to get used to waking up at 5 a.m. So for like the first week, snooze. And then about a week after I decided to start doing that, one day I woke up and I just wasn't tired. I was like, okay, you know what? I'll go to the gym. Now I'm a pack-a-day smoker for 8 years. So I wasn't going to get on the treadmill and run myself until I was hacking my lungs out and hating life. I was like, okay, I'm going to start small. I'm just going to get my heart rate up. I'm going to make this something that I enjoy doing. you know. And that boils down to like break it down to like not being obsessed with the goal and being more obsessed with the process and making sure that like I find joy in the process of getting where I'm going. And that's how you get meaningful change in your life. So I started out by sitting on a stationary bike for 30 minutes, you know, and listening to a podcast and then go sit in the sauna. It was like this meditative, like I got time to myself, I can breathe, you know, and relax. And then, you know, after I got comfortable for a little while, you know, it's like, and I started to enjoy that process. You know, one day I just decided I was okay, this is too easy. I need to kind of like, let's step out of my comfort zone a little bit, but not too much. I jumped on the elliptical for 30 minutes. Right. And then I started like, fast forward, I started running. And one day I ran like 8 miles like, before Super Bowl in 2020. And I felt great. Like I felt amazing. And I've been listening to Joe Rogan a lot. And I remember Zach Bitters coming on. It was actually going to be my coach for September, October. I'm going to redo my 100 in cooler temps. And then spring of next year, I'm going to try to set the fastest known time to run the shortest shore trail in Michigan, which is 220 miles. And so he's going to be the coach with that I work with to make sure I'm like building my training properly to deal with like get my body to the place where it can handle that kind of mileage. And I was listening to Zach Bitters on Joe Rogan's podcast and just like I was like, he's just a man. Like, you know, we get so caught up in putting these people on pedestals, right? Like, oh my God, like how could they do that? That's superhuman. But it's like, no, it's not. They're just humans, just like anybody else. And so I kind of just said to myself, you know what? Like, I'm starting to really like running. Like, I bet I could do that. Let's give myself something to work towards. And that's kind of where my journey on running started. And like, I loved it. And it was just, like I went balls to the walls in 2020 because like everybody had time because in the beginning of the year COVID hit, nobody's shipping anything and I'm dead. You know, my customers are middle supply chain packaging customers, so they're always got loads just to varying volumes. So I didn't really have to do a whole lot in terms of like making sure I had clients that were going to keep my account busy. Like there was not a whole lot of sense in like doing a ton of prospecting because everybody's telling you the same thing. Oh yeah, it's COVID, bro. Nothing. No, we're not even in the office right now. You know, so that's all I did was run, right? And it's been something that, like, when I first started doing it, kind of detracted from my life because it was this selfish pursuit of like doing what makes me feel good and what I want to do, and I had to take a step back. I wasn't finding any fulfillment in life, like for my career or for running, because it was like this selfish, like, what can you do for me approach? And like, not even like knowingly, like not even like a like willful narcissism, you know, it was kind of just like, you know, as humans, we have a tendency to kind of think about ourselves first. Right. So I was like struggling to find fulfillment in life. And I stopped running. 2021 was crazy for everybody. I'm sure it was crazy for you guys. And I got back into it. So I didn't run at all last year. And then 2022, I got back into it and I kind of changed my frame of mind to be thinking about like, and this is how it kind of translates into like, this is an overarching principle that you can apply to every area of your life is be of service to others. Always be thinking about what you can do to make the world a better place, how you can enrich the lives of your friends, your family, your coworkers, your customers, your clients, your carriers, whoever you're dealing with on a daily basis by using the things that you're good at and what you're passionate about to like make the world a better place. And now I'm kind of in this place where I'm really finding fulfillment through running, through my sales career, through how I interact with my support staff on my account, because I'm always thinking about like, okay, like how can I make them better? How can I contribute to their growth as human beings? How can I make the world a better place by doing what I'm passionate about and what I like to do? And so like running has been a really awesome tool for me to like not only grow personally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, but you know, I found a way for it to be a tool to enrich my marriage, to enrich my relationship with my kids, my customers, with my coworkers, you know, and give back to society by raising money. We actually raised over $15,000 for the Ronald McDonald House of West Michigan, and And for those of you who don't know about Ronald McDonald House, sorry if I'm rambling, by the way.
No, this is you. This is your story. You tell it.
But the Ronald McDonald House, basically, it's like when I first started partnering with them, I was like, what does McDonald's do for anybody besides give them diabetes? And I started learning a little bit more about what they do. And basically, they're like a home away from home for people whose children are like dying of horrible diseases. My uncle's brother, who died of cancer when he was 17, he spent 3 months in a Ronald McDonald House, and they give him a free place to stay and meals to eat, so they don't have to worry about where they're going to lay their head at night or what they're going to eat or how they're going to afford to be there for their children. They can just be there. And it's been just a super awesome experience to be able to do that. It's like, so I'm not like goal oriented. It's like, yeah, I have these things that I'm working towards, but I'm like really looking towards like how through the process of achieving my goals can I not be in competition with everybody, but like focus on like enriching the world and making the world a better place through the pursuit of my goals,
Yeah, no, you made great points right there, and a lot of people need to take time out of their day to listen to the way you broke down that whole aspect of it. Because when you're talking about helping people, that's what we do, right? That's what we do in any aspect of life as humans. The year's 2022. We wouldn't be in 2022 if, as humans, we weren't supposed to be helping people. We've helped every generation get us to where we are now, and I believe, depending on what it is you believe, we've kind of fell into different cycles throughout the history of the universe. And there's been times where we've been very high and technological and went back down, and we've built ourselves back up just through helping people. I was at a sales conference this past weekend in Phoenix, and a guy named Andy Elliott. He's big in the automotive space, but he's a big motivator as well too. Brad Lee was there. I don't know if you know much about Brad Lee's podcast called Dropping Bombs Podcast, but really good. And they talk about, if you take the goal of getting money, getting rich away out of everything, and you just try to help as many people as you possibly can, if you help 1,000 people, you're going to be rich. If you help 10,000 people, you're going to be wealthy. If you help 1 million people, you're going to be really wealthy. So the goal should be to strive to help as many possible people as you can out there. And it's by telling stories like that, telling stories about being, a pack-a-day smoker for 8 years in a row, and then decide, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to listen to some podcasts. I'm going to dumb it down. I'm going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And guess what? If I take a step back, I'm just going to start again tomorrow, because it's okay. We don't have to be perfect. Like everybody talks about like the routine of a billionaire, the routine of a millionaire. Dude, I know we all have our perfect routines, but guess what? There's days that even the best of us are going to be like, I'm not getting out of bed today. I'm tired. I drank too much. I'm not doing it. I stayed up watching Netflix. Shouldn't have done that. But you know what? That's life, and life happens. So we could talk about fitness all day and mindset and all that stuff, and we'll come back to it before we get off because I do want to talk more about it. But I want to get to logistics and the sales real quick because we are in the middle of the workday. A lot of the people that get on here and listen to this are in supply chain, warehousing, logistics, shipping, and customers. A lot of customers are jumping on here now too. So kind of tell me about how you got into TQL, how you found logistics, what you were doing beforehand, and and how you got from where you were to where you are right now.
So before I started working at TQL, I was actually homeless and living out of my car in the year prior to working at TQL. When I was 25, I was living with my dad, and I realized that if I stayed there, so I wasn't necessarily homeless because I didn't have a choice. My parents were always there for me. They've always been extremely supportive. I'm very lucky to have grown up in the household that I grew up in with the parents that I grew up with. Were always supportive and loving of me no matter what. But I was living with my dad, and I kind of just I realized one day that if I just stay here, I will always be just comfortable enough that I will never do anything to change my situation. So I had to make a choice to get uncomfortable, and I wasn't making the best decisions, but I kind of just said to myself, you know what? It's time, sink or swim. You're either going to make it in this life or not, but it's time to find out what you're made of. And I tried to make it on my own. I tried to start my own business. That didn't work out. I was stubborn, and I was living out of my car for a little bit. And at the end of the year, I had applied to TQL prior to that, 2-3 years prior. And I made it to the final interview, and I decided I was going to move to Jacksonville, Florida to take the job. And after a night out with some friends, kind of doing some soul searching, I was like, you know what? I don't think that I'm ready to grow up yet and have like this career. So I kind of like dilly-dallied for another 2 years and kind of just made this realization, okay, you know what? It's time for me to grow up, apply to TQL. They made me the toughest interview I ever had. When I first started at TQL, we didn't hire anybody. Like you would have 50 people come through the door and you might see one get hired. It's the longest interview that I ever had. And the first interview that I ever had that I walked out and was like, man, I didn't know if I got that job.
Yeah, right. I got you.
And so I'd always been good at sales. I worked at Pier 1 Imports before that. And I started actually in the back of the building unpacking boxes. My manager came to me one day and said, you have to start selling credit cards. And I was like, really? I really enjoy just opening boxes and like, leave me alone. They sent me out on the floor and I closed like 6 new store credit cards. I was like their one sales rep within a month. And they took me out of the back in front of the house all day, every day. And I was making, you know what, it's time. I'm making all this money. It's time for me to figure out. Like I realized I was like good at sales. That's what I wanted to do. So I jumped into TQL. And you know, it's funny when I first started TQL, because the thing about TQL is like we don't hire brokers, we train new ones. Have you ever seen the Boiler Room where they had the guy? Yeah, it's like we don't hire brokers here, we train new ones. So I had no experience in logistics whatsoever. Actually, the first week of training, they sent us in our little group to like do some work, and I sat there for like 5 minutes looking at our like worksheet that we were supposed to be answering questions in. I was like, I have no fucking idea. and luckily everybody else that was in training with me was like totally clueless too. And I, you know, the way we work here at TQL is you start out LE, which is you're a trainee, and you work on a successful broker's board, and you basically manage the book. You cover loads for them. You do check calls, all the little busy work that successful brokers don't really need to. Like, I don't do that stuff. Like, I don't do check calls. I have a guy who does that for me. You know?
Yes.
And learn the industry. And so, you know, I didn't even start out by like being really good at sales, like the business to business sales, because it's, you know, like working in retail is a very transactional industry. You know, it's not necessarily all about building relationships because you're only going to see these people for a short period of time, especially furniture sales. It's not consultative at all. So you're jumping, it's like sales fast forwarded, you know, forget all the relationship stuff. You need to touch on the points and upsell as fast as possible because you sell them there or you don't sell them at all. Right. Whereas logistics is kind of I remember my manager asking me, is like, how is that going to translate into people trusting you with their freight? Right. And I didn't fully understand that. Now at 6 years down the road, I understand the difference between those inbound sales where it's very transactional, where, in transportation, it's not that transportation isn't transactional. There are customers and clients out there that are transactional like that, right? But success in 3PL logistics is driven by your ability to build relationships, right? So the first 6 months of my training, I didn't set up any customers, and it's not because I didn't try. It's because I was like, I'm going to be the best it is at whatever I'm doing at the time. So I was going to be the best trainee, like every week, over 1,000 calls, over 30 loads covered, over 10 hours of talk time per week. You know, I was pounding the phones. I was always looking for freight to cover. I was the number one LET in the company for like weeks running as an LET. And when I got into sales, my own broker told my manager that he should just fire me because there was no way that I was going to make it in sales, right? Because I hadn't set any customers. Right? They didn't really care about the hustle. They did care about the hustle. Like, there's always a place for somebody who busts their ass anywhere. It's like effort drives results. So even if you don't make it in sales, if you put the effort in, like companies will find a place to put you because it's hard to find people that work that hard, right? Mm-hmm. But that wasn't even like in my mind. So when I got into sales, you have these moments in life where you kind of like are face to face with like the question, what are you made of? What do you have inside of you? Can you do this? Do you have what it takes? And so I kind of just said to myself, like, you're going to drag me out of here kicking and screaming, but I'm going to give this everything I have. And you're never going to be able to tell me that I didn't give it everything. And I didn't leave no stone unturned. So when I got, it was 3 to 4 hours every day on the phone. nonstop. The second I got in at 8 o'clock, I was on the phone calling prospects nonstop. First 2 weeks, I didn't close anybody, and because I didn't have a pipeline built up, and then like that trend, like effort drives results. My broker ended up quitting. I closed a bunch of business on my own, and I was the number one hustler in the office. And so when my broker ended up quitting, they ended up giving us a trailer leasing company that was like I was the obvious choice. I was the obvious choice to give it to because I was the hardest worker in the office. My mentality every day going into work is I'm going to show you how work's done. I'm going to show you what it is to work hard. You may think that you know what hard work is, but I'm going to show you what it looks like, right? And that's been my mentality, like how I approach like my whole life, right? And so like I was kind of getting by just like sheer effort, right? Just working my ass off, like in terms of just like always number one in the office for call time, always number one in the office for revenue, always number one in the office for loads. If I had any downtime at all, I'm looking for more freight, like a nonstop, like balls to the walls. Like I don't know how to like just sit there and twiddle my thumbs. Like it's not in my nature to be that kind of person. And so I grew quite a bit, right? My first full year in sales, I was $1 million broker. It's just like unheard of. Not to toot my own horn, but that's when I first started. That was like unheard of because like the market was a little bit different than it is now. Now it's like it's just even in a soft market like this, it's kind of just raining money everywhere. Like the only industry that you don't really see screaming the sky is falling is 3PL logistics, like particularly freight brokerage. Everybody's like, oh, it's gravy over here because we do well in chaotic markets, right? We do worse in stable markets because rates are kind of like set and more stagnant, you know what I mean? So there's less room for us to make money in different, whereas like even in a soft market, we tend to do well, right? But I struggled to like move from like that top 100 broker status to like this year. I'm hoping to finish in the top 20. And the biggest transition I made is like, right, yeah, it's good to be good at sales, right? And I want to, I guess, step it back too. Is like, people get caught. I made a post about this the other day. People think that being good at sales means being good at selling. Well, I don't know about you, but I hate being sold to, and that's a knee-jerk reaction for people. Like when they feel like they're being sold to, walls go up. Right. So I don't consider myself to be necessarily a seller. I'm a relationship builder. I'm just a guy out here trying to make friends. I don't have it in me to be anything but authentic. And like, if I'm going at it with this approach of like, hey, like I want to not only contribute to your life, like professionally and help you with your supply chain, but I also want to be somebody that you want to talk to about the fights on the weekend. I want to make your days better. I want to make your life better for having come into contact with me. And that's how like I approach my relationships with my clients. It's like, we all have 4 basic needs as a human being, right? We all want to feel like we are understood. We all want to feel like we're being listened to. We all want to feel like we're being respected. And we all want to feel loved, right? And if we do those 4 things, then walls come down. Relationships are built, and relationships with clients and prospects are like no different than building a relationship with your wife, your kids, your friends, or workers. It's all the same thing, right? I mean, they all require that 4-pillared approach. Like I've got to empathize with their situation. I've got to listen to what they're saying. I've got to make it abundantly clear that I respect them and their time. And if I do those 3 things, I'm going to make them feel loved, right? And then it's like, I can't tell you how many times like I have my partners. I hate the word assistants, so I call them my partners. Like come to me with a truck that's being unruly or a customer that's upset about something, and I go back to those 4 things, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like that guy wasn't being unruly. I did these 4 things. We had a cogent, like peaceful conversation. We came up with a solution, and everybody was happier for it, right? And then those relationships began to stand the test of time because you've built not like this customer-client relationship. You've built this peer-to-peer, friend-to-friend, familial level relationship that that's why you see a lot of like brokers go boom and bust. You see guys who come in who are good at selling, but they don't know how to manage relationships, and they set up one big client, something goes wrong, they don't have any loyalty from that client because they're just got this transactional relationship, and then they're gone. And you see the guys that stand the test of time that are here year in, year out, crushing it every day because they have these relationships that are beyond just, oh, I need this load moved from A to B. How's your day going? What do you got going on this weekend? How are your kids? How's your wife? You know, what, you got any big plans coming up? What are you doing for Labor Day? You know, hey, I just wanted to reach out to you. I hope that you're having a nice day. You know, those kind of like with that approach, and not only does it like translate to like success in sales, but also it's just like so much better that way. Like you're so much happier like in life when you feel like you're working with people who like enjoy their presence, you enjoy being with them, right? And so that like approach led to a lot of success in sales. And now like I think the biggest problem like successful salespeople have, particularly like in like the cradle to grave models, their ability to scale up, right? From like you get to a certain point where you can like kind of handle things through like a micromanager's like standpoint where the broker is very hands-on, right? And in the last year, I've really kind of had to take a step back because my volume's gone through the roof, right? So I don't have time to micromanage every little thing. And then it comes down to like your ability to delegate, like to be an effective delegator, right? So I used to think that meant telling people what to do, right? And that's not it. It's more like I have to approach my partners like with this, like, how can I empower you? How can I give you the opportunity to make decisions, the obligation to learn, the opportunity to make mistakes, and the obligation to learn from them? How can I grow your professional skill set? How can I grow you as a human being? And then I frame everything, every task that I put before like one of my sales support staff is framed with that frame of mind. Like, okay, how is this thing going to grow their skill set? How is this thing going to make them better at what they do? How are they going to become a better professional, a better person from taking on this task? And then I think about that, I present it to them, and then I work with them on getting there. And it's like, hey, I don't care how you get from A to Z. I just need you to get from A to Z. If you need my help, let me know, but just do it in an ethical way and do it in an efficient way, and then we're good. And you'll be amazed at like how people, like, you don't need necessarily somebody to have all the skills right away. You need them to have the right can-do attitude and the right mentality to approach those tasks. And they like have totally surprised me because like I got a team of fucking rock stars, man, like who I know will go above and beyond to get the job done because I give them opportunities to grow. I make sure that I'm always thinking about how I can grow them as people, how I can make their lives better. Like both professionally and personally, right? And then I give them real rewards, and then the ability to scale up from like where I was even just a year ago to where I am today is like night and day. So like one, I'm like approaching my clients with that. I'm going to empathize, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to respect, and I'm going to show love, right? And then I'm going to do that also with my support staff. And I'm going to do that by giving them opportunities to grow and thinking about how I can contribute to their lives. And then all of a sudden, you've got this team that loves working together and loves being with each other and loves not just the goal of covering freight and getting more, but the process of doing it because they can see the real results of how they're growing as people and professionals and learning skills they're going to take with them the rest of their lives, you know. And it becomes like it's almost this transcendence that you don't realize is there when you like let go of that control and just focus on that like service first, think of others first mentality. And it's just been, I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but I couldn't imagine doing it any other way because it is my duty to myself, my family, society, my coworkers to leave a lasting positive impact on everybody I come into contact with, right? And I don't want to do it any other way. Like I want to think like that. I want to make the world a better place. I want to my coworkers to be better people for having come into contact with me. Same thing with my clients, my friends, my coworkers, you, anybody listening. Like I want to contribute to your growth as a human being. and I get real excited talking about this stuff, man, because
you can see the passion coming out of you, and that's great. So how do you take your mindset? Because one of the biggest things when you're running a team, and kind of break down how TQL operates, like how is it pod structure, or is it like once you get to a certain book of business, now you get to hire people up under you and you have a team, or do they kind of explain that?
You hit like a certain revenue level, and then it's basically like a certain revenue level warrants a certain amount of support staff, right? So like, we're cradle to grave. Like I set up all my own customers. I manage all the operations. I do all the accounting. I do all the billing. I'm my own little business, essentially. And then as I grow, I add more support staff to take care of the nitty gritty stuff. There's a lot of busy work when it comes to moving high volume accounts, like scheduling appointments, building loads, so you have somebody for every little area. And yeah, I mean, that's basically, you start as a trainee and then you go out and you try to set up your own business. And then as you close business, you grow more. And then it's like, you can transition into like leadership and stuff like that, but I don't live near the office. I'd love to get into leadership with like TQL, but I'm not moving in my house. And you don't necessarily have to have the title to be a leader. It's all about how you carry yourself on a daily basis and how you interact with people and how you get people to follow you and learn from what you're doing. And so like I'm cool with just being a broker. You know what I mean? That's basically what I do. I'm just a broker. And as I grow, like the more support staff I have, the ability to scale, like just from that approach of like service first, even to everybody from the support staff to the client, like it makes it so much easier to just take on more business, because I don't know about you, but I won't sell a service that I'm not confident in first. Second, if I don't have the support staff to manage the business, right, or if I'm taking on more than my support staff can handle, that means that I'm being tapped in to the nitty gritty, which means I don't have time to grow my pipeline and prospect more, right? So it's like every person that you bring on is an investment, you know what I mean? And how good that investment pans out is all about how much work you're willing to put in into it, like developing them and their skill sets, you know what I mean, and developing them as people. And not to say that you take, like, they're their own individual human being. Like I can't take any credit for that. It's just like, when I say develop, I mean like giving them opportunities to grow and like doing so in a constructive way where it's abundantly clear to them that they know that they know that I am always thinking about what is in their best interest, or at least I'm trying to. And then, they feel dedicated and they're committed to my account,
Yeah. So what are some common objections that you're hearing on a regular basis as a broker? Because you're obviously, you got your people doing your stuff for you. You jump in if you need to, is the way I understand it. But your job is to continue to push revenue, keep the pipeline full, keep growing the business, keep giving them more stuff to add more support staff. So what are some common objections that you're running into out there right now in brokering?
Well, do you mean like the customer side?
Yeah, the customer side, yeah.
Well, right now, I'm not actually doing a whole lot of prospecting. I've been focusing on developing my team. But I mean, everything's kind of still the run of the mill, there's loyalty to their current carrier. It's very hard to dive into the real objections that people have, because a lot of times people won't play they're not going to bear it all out there for you to see, because that's why I'm a relationship first kind of person. Right. So I'm really only focused on developing those qualified leads. And then the main thing, any objection that you hear in sales always comes down to that the relationship isn't built yet. It's not there yet. Somebody you close on your first call, that's not that it doesn't have the potential to be a transaction based on to build a relationship, right? But somebody you close on a first call is probably going to be very transactional. Nobody likes you that much off of one phone call to be like, yeah, that's my friend there. You know what I mean? You're still just an acquaintance, right? So anytime you're getting an objection in sales, particularly in business to business logistics, you got to think that this their truckload is to me, to a broker is just a load, but to your customer, that's their lifeblood. That is what keeps them alive. It is how they make their money. It is their baby, right? And they're not just going to give you their baby when their trust isn't there. Sure, yeah, maybe a customer with a load of bricks might be like, whatever, or a customer with a load of paper rolls where the load's worth or a load of cardboard. Cardboard brokers love to, they'll take anybody who has a truck because their loads are worth $500. Truck flips over and burns. It costs more to ship it than the load itself was. I'll just go buy some more, right?
Right.
But when you're talking about like retailers, large size shippers that are shipping high value cargo or just in time cargo, even not even high value, but like just in time cargo, they like to feel like, that's where you're going to make your money, because they're going to be more service oriented than process oriented. Right. And that's, as a broker, that's what you really need to look for, is the customers that are going to be more service oriented. Sure, when you're starting out, process oriented customers are okay to have, right? But brokers are a dime a dozen to process oriented customers, whereas service oriented customers are going to be much more like I could tell you all my problems, but if I don't, and you can have all the solutions, but if I don't feel like I can trust you, if I don't feel like there's this relationship built on mutual respect, understanding, love, and empathy, right? They may not say that, but I'm telling you, if you really break it down, those are the 4 core needs of human beings to like have a healthy relationship. Then they're never going to give you a load. So like, I'm never, like, when I'm on a phone call, like my first phone call is always just like, are you moving dedicated shipments? Are you using outside carriers? Like, this job is very simple. You call people and tell them who you are and why you're calling. You ask them how they're doing. You find out if they have freight. If the answer is yes to that question, you keep talking to them. If the answer is no, you hang up. You tell them to have a nice day, hang up, and make another phone call, right? But so first call is always like fact finding. Like, is there opportunity here? Are they using outside carriers? Are they doing drayage, ocean, and intermodal, warehousing, drop trailer, whatever, what have you, right? And are they using outside carriers for it? Cool. All right, I know there's an opportunity. Now I'm looking to build a relationship, because when you're first starting out, right, you'll take anybody you can get. So I used to have this mentality, like, go in the first call looking for a load, right? And I do still kind of like going to the first call looking for a load, trying to get a lane details. Like, if I'm calling somebody from Cincinnati, I'll get them on. Oh, where are you guys going out to? Right? Oh, they're going out to Mobile, Alabama. All right, I got enough info to send them a quote right then and there, right? To give them a rate, to get them to entertain that conversation, right? About like at least present something to them, like kind of let it hang out. So it's like, especially if I know they're moving like automotive parts or something that's going to go in like a drive-in or something like that, right? Or even if it's reefer freight, like I can go ahead and pull rate data, give them a rate, and like the rate's either good or it's not, right? You can kind of get that feedback from them, right? But what gets them, again, now focusing on customers that are service oriented and really oriented on like having that relationship with their carriers, right? How do you bridge the gap? Okay, the rate's good. Now what's the problem? Like, what do I need to do to close this business, right? And then they're not going to spell it out to you. Sure, they're going to point out this, that, and the other, but the simple fact is the relationship isn't built yet. And if you build that relationship, then and only then will they be comfortable giving you that load, right? And then like it's kind of this win-all approach too, because you can't come into 3PL logistics and be thinking like, oh, like you can't be short, like thinking short term. You've always got to be thinking about like long-term goals. And the long-term goal is to have a relationship with you that will be 10, 20 years. I want to work with you until I retire, until I hang up the phone and I hang up the old headset. I want to work with you. I want to be your friend. Right? Like, I want to find out if you're somebody that I want to be friends with. So believe it or not, you're actually you're prospecting me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense. And it is like, you want to be around people that you like to talk to, that you can learn something from, that you can give information to, and that you can grow together. I can go back to one, I'm sure your accounts are just like this. My best account, I'm buddies with them. It's not my customer. If I go to Columbus, Ohio, they're my friend. We're going to go to the fights, or we're going to go hang out at the bars, or we're going to chill, go to dinner. We'll stop by the office and we'll talk about whatever, but we probably want to talk about that. We're just going to go meet everybody and then go talk about stuff they like and get to know everybody. Like it's worked for us, and obviously it's working for you. So people need to listen to this, and people need to quit thinking like this is just a cold call script and you need to go in there and you got to do this, 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 and this. Freight is so much different. It's a service. Selling a service is so much different than selling a product or a tangible good. Like, yes, you are the product, but you have to get them to want to ingest the product before they're ever going to take it. So you got to serve them with something other than just you. You got to tell them about you. Figure out what's the number one thing people want to talk about: themselves. So you got to get them asking or answering questions about themselves. You should never even be using statements, I don't think, in your first couple sales calls. It should all be questions. Everything should be a question.
Exactly. It's all about learning about them, right? It's like I was talking with somebody about like, how do you like have this like kind of like this like rosy glasses view of the world? And it's like, because sometimes humans have a tendency to be narcissistic, right? Well, look, if I want somebody to treat me with those 4 things that I've been talking about: love, empathy, respect, and listening and understanding, right? I gotta do it first. I gotta take it as an obligation of myself to people to show them first that, hey, I'm not here to take advantage of you. Like, I'm here to get to know you. Like, I won't work with customers that I don't like. If I think that you are a bad person, I will not work with you. I don't care how much freight you have, because I know that I'm good at what I do. I know that if I don't, like, some customers are just not for you, right? They're just not, right? And I'm fortunate that I'm in a position where like I like can pick and kind of choose like who I want to work with, but that comes from my ability to like approach like that way. Of course, I used to work with people that were just like total dicks, you know what I mean? Like, but like I don't have time for that. Like I got like so much better things to do, right? And you can't pay me enough to be miserable, right? So like I can't fake it. If I don't like you, it's going to be apparent that I don't like you, right? And it's not many people I don't like. I find that if you like the biggest reason for conflict in life boils down to that we're either not empathizing, we're not listening, we're not respecting, or we're not showing love. Or if we're not doing one of those things, then there's a wall that is in the way, right? That's going to lead to miscommunication is the number one cause for conflict. So I've found that most people are good people. They're good people. Sometimes you catch people on bad day, but nobody cares about you enough to go out of their way to harm you, because we're all just doing the best we know how with the information that we have on hand. Like, some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield. Don't take it personally. Just focus on like, how can I bring those walls down? How can I build relationships? How can I make new friends? Being good at sales isn't about being good at selling. It's about being good at making friends. Are you good at making friends? Do you like making friends? Well, then maybe sales might be for you.
Well, and you look, one of the best-selling books of all times is How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in the first chapter of that book, I don't know if you've read it, but you do a great job of it. The first chapter of that book is like, you should act as if you're a dog. Now, that's not, putting you down. That's saying like, what's a dog do when he sees you for the first time? He's wagging his tail, he runs up to you, he's jumping on you, he's wanting to see you, he's excited. If you leave for 5 minutes and come back, what happens to the dog? He's running to you, jumping to you, excited. Like, he's always excited to see you. So if you're always excited to talk to your prospects or your customers or your friends, if you're always excited to talk to them, always ready to give them information, always ready to ask them questions and learn more about what they're doing and how you can help them, they're going to be more likely to want to work with you. That's just how this game works. Let's see. Gabe's jumped in here a couple times. See what he says. It's a great feeling to get to the point in your career that you can work with good people and no to the rest. The greatest feeling is having alternatives to good people equals good business. Yeah, I mean, if you can start, for customers out there, don't take this the wrong way, but when we can fire you, like when a broker can fire a customer and be okay with it, like, and that sounds a lot worse than what it is, but when you decide like, I'm not going to work with you because like we're just not a good fit, it's all matchmaking. It's all relationships. It's like a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Like, it's just relationships. It's not you, it's me, right? Like, and that's kind of the approach that you're able to take at this point when you get your book of business built up. You're not just having to survive off of anything, and then you can build your team around you, and then they can go out and redo what you did. Talk about a little bit of how you're training your people. I know we got about 11 minutes here. Talk about how you're training your people and how far they're coming along. How many people do you have under you?
I had somebody quit the other day. She was only there for a month. though. And I asked her, so I always ask, the first question I ask when somebody comes on my account, on a scale of 1 to sensitive, where are you? If the answer is anything other than I'm not sensitive, then this probably won't work out. Just because of the nature of the industry, right? Like it's like I treat everybody with respect, but I also have kind of like this keep up or get out, kind of like approach to business. And I'm not like heavy-handed with that, but I think it's like important to like for them to understand like everybody on my team does a great job. I am not looking for adequate. I am looking for great. I'm looking for good or great, right? Adequate is not enough because I need to be able to know that like if you're doing adequate, then I'm like you're never going to get to that point where I'm able to like just give you more and feel comfortable giving you more, right? But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got like 9 people under me, probably.
Yeah.
Under me, and I really like. It's like I don't hold their hand. You know what I mean? Like in fact, half the time they have to tell me to stop telling them to do stuff that they got it. Like I'll ask them a question, like go away. They're telling me to go away because they got it, right. So I really kind of just start them out like one, like basic job description, what they signed up for, right? And then I make it clear to them like, hey, here's the culture that we have on my team. Here's what we do. Like I'm always going to be there for you. I'm always thinking about how I can grow. From jump, I'm having that conversation with them. They're like, hey, whenever I tell you to do something, it's not because I'm bossing you around. It's because I'm thinking about how I can grow you, how I can grow your skill set, how I can improve you as a person, how I can improve your like professional skill set and give you skills that you're going to be able to take. Whether you're here for the next 10 years or 2 years, you're going to take these skills with you wherever you go for the rest of your life. They will be skills that you will translate into whatever that you do, whatever it is that you're doing, right? And then it just goes back to that like empowering thing, right? Like I give them the opportunity to make mistakes, the obligation to learn from them, right? And I'm always like looking at it like this partner, like we're on a ship, right? And just because I'm the captain of that ship does not mean that I'm the most important person. We are all of equal importance and we all play our part and play our roles, right? And it just brings out the best in people. It's like you don't have to hold people's hands to develop them and grow them, right? Leadership permeates, right? It's in the air. Like if you have a good culture, like you don't even necessarily need to have a ton of one-on-one. Like we do monthly, like airing, like kind of like Festivus, airing of grievances monthly. Like, hey, what can we be doing better as a team, right? And then we work on those things. But like I don't hold their hand. Like I like here's A, here's Z, bridge the gap, figure it out.
Gotcha.
I trust your ability to get from A to Z. And then if you can't get from A to Z, then we can have a different conversation, right? But first, I'm going to give you, it's like I have to trust them first. I have to give them the opportunity first, right? And then if it's not working out, then we can have that conversation. And you know what? I found that like the turnover on my account is like non-existent. Most of the people that I work with like have been on my account for years, right? And anybody that comes on, it's like I've only had like 2 people come off of my account that weren't keeping up, right? But 90% success rate of people I brought onto my account, of them being able to keep up and meet or exceed expectations. So like, we get caught up in like, are we doing enough as leaders? And it's like, no, well, are you building a culture? Are you giving your people opportunities to grow and empowering them to make decisions? Well, then that kind of figures itself out, right? If you're having issues, and then the issues come along the way, and then you're just kind of like making little changes here and there. Like, okay, hey, we did this, it didn't work out. We need to not do that anymore. Or you did this and that was great and it worked out really well. So let's try to do more of that, right? So then you're like you're not building it from the ground up. You gotta trust that there's some structure there for you to just kind of like tweak here and there. That you don't have to necessarily build from the ground up, because you get caught up in like thinking like there's like, oh, they don't have anything to build. It's like, well, look, the framework is built with a good attitude, work ethic, right? A willingness to learn and grow and improve and work hard, right? That's the framework. You can't coach those things, right?
Sure.
like, here's what you got to do. Like TQL has all the training material for them to like learn and understand the industry, but you learn from like actual experience. Like I don't use anything. I mean, probably use some of the stuff I learned in training, but almost everything I've learned is just from doing it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't coach that. I can't just like tell them, here's how you book a truck. You're going to have your own unique conversation with every carrier. You're going to have your own spin because you're your own person and you have conversations with people differently than I do, right? All I need from you is a good attitude, a willingness to work hard, a willingness to learn, right? And then as you're going along your journey, growing and whatever your position on my account is, we're running into issues. Hey, here's where we need improvement. Hey, here's what you're doing really well, right? I always try to lead with like, here's what you're doing well first, before we kind of critique with like what you need to do better. Because if I only point out what they're doing wrong, then it's almost like as humans, we tend to be very critical of ourselves. I'm just speaking from like how I like feel. If you only tell me what I'm doing wrong, then I'm assuming that I'm doing everything wrong. Whereas if you're pointing out what I'm doing well, right, and then also giving me some of that constructive criticism of what I could do better, like, okay, hey, I'm doing really well here. I can take solace in that. Now, in order for me to paint the full picture, I just need to work on these little things here, and it becomes so much more attainable, right, and empowering. It's just these simple changes in the conversations that we're having with ourselves, with people, like make all the difference in terms of the results that we get from the people that work with us and the results that we get for ourselves, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, you've said so many great things. I'm going to try to clip a lot of this out and put it out as well. So before we get off here, enough of freight, enough of sales, enough of running. That mustache, I mean, it's awesome. And the hair. So do you watch pro wrestling at all?
I do not.
Dude, you have a literal brother in pro wrestling, a guy, same vibe, same voice almost, same style, everything. I've had a match with him several times. He's in the WWE right now. He's one of the top guys. His name is Matt Riddle. Okay. You need to look up Matt Riddle. You guys would be best friends, 100%. It's a very similar vibe. It's real cool, very down to earth, and just in touch with everything. So, dude, I appreciate you coming on to the show. I really enjoy it.
I had a great time, man. This was a great conversation. Well, I'll definitely have to do it again soon if you'll have me.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. For sure, I'll have you. Now, what do you have going on for the rest of the day? You got to book some freight. You got some loads to cover. What do you got going
on? I'm sure my team's got some fires that I got to go attend to. I have no idea right now. So I'm going to try to win more freight. I'm going to try to win more freight, basically.
There you go.
I got nothing to go win some more loads.
Somebody just said we got a very tough decision right now on who's wearing the best shirt. I think they're both colorful. They're both good.
I got to go with your shirt, man. I'm loving it.
I don't know. I dig yours, though. I'd rock yours all day.
There we go. All right. You can. I say you win and you say I win. So everybody wins.
Everybody wins. And here we got one more. Love the outlook on how to provide positive feedback to employees. So, a little bit of engagement with this episode. Hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Get back to work. Book those loads. We'll schedule something for in a couple months. Check back in. We'll get you back on the show. Sound good?
Great, man. That sounds awesome. You have a great day.
Have a good one, man. You too. All right, guys. Hey, so that was Joshua Harrison. Very great episode. Love that episode. When you plan to go about 30 minutes with somebody and then they just keep spitting out just the truth and the authenticity of what a freight broker actually is, because we get so caught up in these aspects to where we're telling somebody what they should do without actually having ever done it. And that's where people kind of look at you over the shoulder and be like, man, this guy don't even know what he's doing. Like, why is he telling me to do that? He's not even doing anything. So when you talk to people from a real place in the heart, and you talk to people from real experience and action, and knowing that, hey, I failed doing this. I don't want you to do that because I messed up. That's all he's saying he's done, man. He's very real. He's authentic. He's genuine. And I'm glad that I had a chance to get him onto the show. So I appreciate everybody that came in and gave some comments. Gabe, Jonathan, and Ty, thank you guys for listening. I hope you all share this out, get this out to everybody. This will be posted up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter later tonight, probably around 8 p.m. And then tonight I'm in studio. I'm going to be filming an episode with Jesse Clouds, who I met on my trip to Phoenix to see Andy Elliott and Brad Lee. It's crazy that two Chattanooga boys ended up going up there at the same time. He's in car sales here in Chattanooga. So he's going to come onto the show. We're going to talk about car sales. And then I'm going to put together a video recapping my trip from Phoenix as well by the end of the week. So everybody have a blessed day. Get out there, get some freight, and go make some money. We'll see you later.